One of the biggest reasons why people hate modern country music is the lack of originality, creativity, and authenticity. In a genre that's most known for its storytelling and immersiveness, it's surprising to see such a large transition to more safe, formulaic songwriting techniques. Go to your favorite artist's songs and scroll through the songwriting credits. For such simple music, you'll find a surprising number of names on that list. And this problem, and we'll get into whether or not it is an issue, seems to be plaguing every genre of music. Rappers' careers are ended when ghostwriters get brought up. Justin Bieber songs with only a verse, chorus, and bridge have a dozen writers on them. Hey everybody, you're watching Playing for Cats. This channel is dedicated to helping animals in need get the help they need. If you want to support this charitable cause, hit the like and subscribe button, then check out the links in my channel so you can financially assist the nonprofits helping these animals. Writing songs has been a form of artistic expression since the medium of communication has existed. Music has been practiced and performed by even prehistoric societies. Later on in the development of humanity, globalization allows us to exchange forms of expression like music. Behind just a basic smile, it might be the most efficient form of universal communication. This communication was made and developed as a vehicle for humans to interact with each other in genuine ways. Whether it was telling a story, spreading a religion, showing off discipline, providing cadences for marching armies, or any of the other infinite uses of music, the most important part was that it had purpose. These purposes were created from individual experiences and biases. For the majority of human history, music was not a commodity to be bought and sold because music couldn't be owned. In the present, the rights to songs or albums or even artists can change hands because they have much more tangible purpose now. In the past, humans simply played music without the purpose of financial compensation. Around the 14th century, a flip switched in humanity. During this time, the Renaissance was occurring. People began to develop consciousness outside of just toiling in the fields or starting a family. People began to discover artistic expressions. This is also around the time the printing press came into existence, giving even the poorest of people an opportunity to at least see organized music. With the quality of life increasing and public education becoming more common, people had the opportunity to reflect on their life and not worry so much about survival. It was this era that saw the rise of music as a pastime. Composers in Europe became the real first songwriters. Their names were tied and attached to these works of art. It's kind of crazy to think about that previously, most songs were just created, then left uncredited. These uncredited songs were played by the common man and weren't meant to be gatekept. But when famous composers played intricately composed pieces, only the wealthy were able to hear it. Being able to tie a piece and its components to a certain composer created the exclusivity between the haves and the have-nots. In a sense, it was the first time in mankind that the majority of music could be credited to individuals. It makes sense considering how much more difficult a movement was to compose versus a folk song or a tavern song. Modern music really attributes its roots to the 18th century. That's where classical era began. Modern music really attributes its roots to the 18th century, when the classical era began. Here, melodies and accompaniments became the centerpiece of every song. Finally, audiences could hear recurring motifs and take note of when things in the song came full circle. A sense of unified structure started to exist in this era of music. The next century led to the Romantic era. In this time, self-expression was at an all-time high and visual and audible art became the primary means of communicating emotions on a grand scale. We finally had the building blocks of modern music. Composers were simply music artists, movements were just hit songs, and the theater that the orchestra played was really just a concert. At this point in time, there seems to be a perfect blend of originality and inspiration. Composers and musicians don't have readily available access to music, but they make it with some basic knowledge. The pieces are written by themselves exclusively, as purchasing songwriters wasn't possible. The works are played by real musicians with real instruments. So what changed? There are an infinite number of factors, but the most important ones are the increase in options to listen to music and the massive increase of quality of life for most people. With mass-produced instruments, recordings, and radios, listening to music was easier than ever. This simply meant that people had to find a means to listen to whatever was available, and with a shortening work week, more disposable income, and another massive boost in public expression, people were ready to enjoy music. When you talk to people of an older demographic, they always mention how their music in their era was real and authentic, unlike modern music. I would argue that they are dead wrong. Artists in the early era of modern music, let's just say the 50s, where pop music became a household name, are notorious for borrowing chord progressions, song ideas, and even stylistic choices. Listen to a Chuck Berry song, then to an Elvis song, then a Bill Haley song, and without the vocal performances, you could not tell me who wrote which song. With television on the rise, Becoming popular to the masses was more important than ever. It wasn't about quality, where composers in the past spent their entire lives making music that came straight from the heart. Musicians in this era were focused on broad appeal and audible appeal. People liked the flashy performances, simple melodies, easy yet cool guitar parts, and digestible lyrics. This trend continued up until the modern day. Of course, we have had plenty of changes since the 50s, but those changes also became the norm and were absorbed into pop music too. Think of how revolutionary the Beatles were in the 60s, with their psychedelic sound, or Nirvana in the 90s with their grunge sound. Of course, I'm not claiming that they created these sounds, but they did popularize them. We can hear the inspiration from these artists in music today. What made the previous two bands mentioned so popular was their authenticity. If a popular artist today covered a song from Led Zeppelin almost to a T, I guarantee that people would complain it's not like the original at all. Getting to country music, this problem has been plaguing the scene since the 90s. That was probably the last time we had an artist that was widely considered to be authentically country. The best name that comes to mind is Alan Jackson. Almost everyone I know would consider him to be a genuine artist that set out to make original, good music. If you mention an artist that got their fame from the 2000s onwards, you would have a much harder time making that case. People will blame money and how it's easier to make a best-selling hit. People will also blame a lack of originality, and I think those are both good points. But mainly, I think the issue is that we have made music perfectly efficient. Instead of being a fluid art form that conveyed how humans felt at the moment, it has become a well-oiled machine. Album dates are planned in advance. Songs are chosen to be singles before they are even written. Artists are propped up like dolls that never break character. In this instance, an artist might not even be the person that they truly are, but merely a fictional character made by their label's team to sell as many records as possible. No one man can be this efficient. It takes teams of analytically minded people to craft these records. Songwriting has been ironed out to be perfect, with words rhyming at exactly the right time and songs never changing tempo or keys in order not to unsettle the listener. Looking at the hit songs right now, Antihero and Flowers by Taylor Swift and Miley Cyrus, who are two artists that have been using this new way of making music in the most efficient way possible, these songs are repeated chord progressions with repeated melodies with very little in terms of differentiating lyrics or subject matter. While the dynamics change in these songs, they are perfectly crafted. In Flowers is a section, the pre-chorus towards the end, where the instruments drop out and the singer performs in a much more emotional manner. You might think this is a genuine moment where the artist feels the song the most, but in reality, it was a pre-planned structure that has been done a million times before. Don't think this is just a problem of pop music, because music of all genres have been doing this in every decade. As you know, modern country music is not immune to this problem. Florida Georgia Line, Luke Bryan, and Morgan Wallen have been abusing this way of creating music for a while now. They are extremely overproduced, washed clean of any errors and signs that might make you think they're actually made by a human. Their songs have teams of writers and producers that make every line perfect, simple, and catchy. Broadway Girls, which is a newer song by Morgan Wallen and Lil Durk, features really simple lyrics and musical motifs, but it has 8 credited songwriters. You might be nodding your head right now thinking, yes, modern country music, that is the problem. But I'm here to tell you that even older country music is in this boat. Hank Williams made easy songs that were fit for the radio. Johnny Cash made simple songs that a beginner guitar player could play. And I don't even know if George Strait can play an instrument. This really leads us to the discussion of the future of music creation. AI has become incredibly powerful in the past few years, and in the past few months has become more accessible to regular folks than ever. ChatGPT has already passed a ton of standardized tests, and BuzzFeed is going to be using it to write their articles from now on. So, as an artist or a label, are you going to be paying a premium for a team of seasoned songwriters, or use a powerful software that has access to almost every song ever recorded for free? The answer is obviously yes in the future, because that technology isn't quite ready yet. But maybe the better question is, should it matter? Whether a song was written by an artist, songwriters behind the scenes, or a computer, does that really impact the listening experience or the emotions that the listener takes away? For me, the answer is obviously no. I have no idea whether an artist is writing a song completely from the heart or they're just writing it to make a quick buck. What matters is how the audience responds to the work of art, not the method in which it was created. What do you think? Is music headed down an even worse path than what most people think it's been taking the past few decades? Is the creative cost of making music extremely efficient worth the loss of what makes it so human? Let me know what you think in the comments, and take care.